Lerone the Miracle Murphy, the undefeated UFC featherweight. First and foremost, how are things with you today, my friend?
Oh, good, man. Great to be here. Happy to be here.
Superb. Let's start by touching on your last fight. So January, I believe January 20th, you won a decision win over Douglas Silva de Andrade, who is a very seasoned opponent, probably the biggest win of your career, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. I think Douglas was 26-3
Yeah.
before we fought, and he had only been beat by Peter Yan, Rob Font, and Zubaira Tukhugov, who I obviously drawn against, and they're three big fighters in the UFC. Obviously, Peter Yan's like basically the champion. Rob Font's like top five. Do you know what I mean? Like they're all top fighters. So for me to get a win against him, it's massive, definitely, and it was tough.
Yeah. Well, it looked like to me, I watched back a little bit earlier, it looked like mentally taxing as much as physically. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, he just kept coming forward. He just wouldn't like. I think I hit him quite clean in like the first round a few good times, and like it didn't phase him really. And even the calf kicks, I thought he would have stopped walking by the second round, and it's just like he just kept walking forward.
You have an ability, in my opinion, Lerone, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have a real ability to fight a fight at your pace. And I think that was really shown in all of your fights, but in the Andrade fight mostly. You kept that fight in your range and at your pace.
Yeah, definitely. I felt the plan was to push the pace a lot more in the third round if it got there, and obviously he got there, but my body just wasn't keeping up with what I normally I go forward, and it's like in the third round I don't know if it was I can't blame the weight cut or anything like that or the training or anything, but it's just like this fight I just didn't have that extra push that I normally drown opponents with when I get into the later stages.
Yeah, it's that obviously. I wanted to ask you this because all of your three fights have been in Abu Dhabi, which I don't actually know if there's a fighter in the UFC with three fights, all of which have been in Abu Dhabi. Anyone that comes to mind for you?
I don't think so, I think Hamzat Chimaev might be the closest with two, but I don't think anybody else, no.
And all three were completely different experiences. One was pre-COVID, one was during COVID with no fans, and one was during COVID but with a little bit of crowd attendance. What were them three different experiences like for you?
Oh, they were totally different. All of them was totally different, but great in their own way. Like the first one, in front of like 15, 16,000 fans, Khabib cutting the cat. That was obviously my favorite fight, obviously, because the crowd, like, obviously I've not experienced that. That was the first and last time I've experienced fighting in front of a crowd that big. But that was a crazy experience. And then my second fight against Ramos was no crowd at all. That was like silence. That was the first time I fought in front of nobody. So that was like a big experience, and then ended up getting a bonus in that fight. So that's like a big point in my career, my first knockout in the UFC. And then my last fight, there's a few fans in there, but I couldn't really hear them while I was fighting. Only between rounds I could hear them, but the arena was nice.
Was it in any way hollow getting your first UFC win against Ricardo Ramos with no crowd attendance? Because you are someone who I presume likes a crowd attendance. You're a very entertaining fighter.
It wasn't. I was at the time. I was just happy to get the win. I was relieved to get the win. I needed a win. I wanted my first win. But like looking back now, it would have been great to get a KO in front of the fans.
Yeah. And it was, as I say, I watched that fight back today as well, and Ramos is throwing all them. What was the kick he was throwing where he was I think he was putting his right leg behind his left and almost trying to kick you in the calf and throwing.
Yeah, it's like people call it like a Rabana kick or something, like a football kick, but I feel like he was trying to set something up from that kick. I don't think he was just throwing it just to throw it. I think he was trying to set something up because he did throw a few spinning kicks after that, but he was a tricky opponent, and I was struggling to get the range of him for a second, and that's why I was taking him down, because he was throwing some mad stuff.
I wanted to touch on the UFC debut against Zubaira Tukhugov. First and foremost, Lerone, were you expected in the fans' eyes, maybe in the UFC's, I don't want to incriminate them, but were you expected to lose that fight under the circumstances of Khabib's homecoming, all of that? Do you think you were meant to lose that fight?
Yeah, of course. 3 weeks notice. He had 25 pro fights or something. I think I was only on 8 then. Yeah, definitely. But I'm undefeated at the same time, so the UFC must have knew that like I must be able to do a bit. Like I'm not for all cans or anything, but I don't know. I don't know. A fight's a fight. The UFC also don't make shit fights, do they? Yeah. So I feel like they just put striker versus grappler. Though I think they was looking for a striker, and he's a grappler. So maybe I don't know.
Out of the 3, which is your favourite? Out of interest.
I think the first one definitely by far. I think I performed the best in the recent one gone, but the first one was the favourite because of the fans, I think, and because it was my obviously first UFC fight.
I've asked this question to a few fighters, and I'm always interested because it's virtually a 50-50 split. What were you more nervous for? MMA debut or UFC debut?
MMA debut.
Okay. And why?
Just because, by far, because I just didn't know what to expect, and it was in a sports hall. All my friends were there. It was like everyone was like dead close to the cage. Everything just was weird. I didn't know what to expect. But with the UFC debut, it was like I already played it in my mind a million times over before I got there. So it was just normal, and like I knew how it would feel almost because I kind of dreamed about it. You know what I mean?
That's always the goal. So once you get there, there's a little more anticipation, but less anticipation as well.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Let's move a little bit from the past to the future. So first and foremost, when are you looking to fight again next? Do you have an ideal time you want to get back in the cage?
Well, we was planning to be very active this year, but due to a bit of health condition, I got a bit of concussion in the last fight. And I've had that post-concussion syndrome, so it's kind of like slowed down the progression. I wanted to fight in July. No, really, I wanted to fight in May, end of July, and then the end of the year. I wanted 4 fights this year, but time's not really, it's not really gone our way, but it is what it is, and we'll just go with the flow. So hopefully I'm still aiming for maybe July, August. So if I get 3 fights in, I'm buzzing, I'm happy. Any fighter is.
You've only fought once 2019, once 2020, and then once 2021. So I would presume the goal is to stay as active as you can.
Yeah, definitely. I need the experience as well, and like I feel like I've got to the point where I'm not like, I wouldn't say I'm not bothered about losing, but that's not. I just want to fight and fight and fight. I'm not just like train. I don't want to train a year to have a fight and then train another year to have a fight. I just want to fight, gain the experience, and get into that top 15 as soon as possible.
Yeah. Just one question on the past. I just wanted to mention it. I've just looked at my notes. I had a little bit of a look at the list of UFC draws earlier, and I couldn't find a single fighter who had a UFC draw in their debut with the promotion. What was that like? Because you would imagine, obviously, that you're always expecting to win, but I would imagine it's one option or the other, and then you draw it. Is a sense of lack of closure almost?
Do you know what? It was strange, you know. It was at the time, because at the time I was in his backyard, all the fans were cheering for him. It was Khabib's undercard. It was like, because of the way the fight went, I thought maybe they might have given it to Zubaira, and that's me being real, because he took me down a good few times. He didn't land anything other than the first punch of the fight, but he took me down a few times. So when they give the draw, I was like, oh, I've done well there. I'll take that. But watching it back, I feel like I won. But a draw to me feels like a loss at the same time as well. It's a weird one. Like, I can't explain it, but I fight to win, obviously. Yeah. So anything less than a win's a loss to me.
Yeah. I think you are one of the prime examples for the depth of this featherweight division, because in other divisions, the way you've performed and the way you've beaten people and your performance against Tukhugov, you might have a ranking next to your name. What is it like being in a division so deep where you've got to fight so many killers to even just get to the top 15?
It's fun. It is fun. It's definitely fun. The division's deep, even down to people that are just getting signed through the Contender Series. Like, the level's high. I'm watching the fights every weekend. I just scroll down the card and look for featherweights, and I make sure I watch them just in case, because you don't know who you're going to get matched against. And like, literally, the level's high, even outside the top 15. It's crazy, but the journey's fun, and this is why I fight. Like, I'm fighting to test myself, and I want to see how far I can actually get.
Is there an ideal opponent you have in mind, or is it just whoever's next for you?
For me, it's whoever's next. I feel like the UFC have given me good fights so far. They've all been big fights. I feel like I'd rather fight somebody more experienced or somebody with a name than one of these young up and coming killers that have just been. They're all tough fights anyway, so you might as well get as much exposure as you can from the fight. And yeah, for me, I'd rather fight. I did want to fight Cub Swanson, but he's just lost now, so that doesn't make sense for me. But I want to fight one of the legends that I've grew up watching. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Out of interest, and once again, this is a question I ask, and it always seems to be a split opinion. Do you like fighting? I would presume class you as predominantly a striker. Do you like fighting other predominantly strikers, or do you like fighting guys who are going to try and get you to the ground, and it's that to and fro?
That's a tough one. It's a tough one because a striking fight's always fun. Always fun. But I feel like the wrestling fights are not as taxing. You know, they're going to take you down. You got to get back up. And I feel like them fights, I like the wrestlers. I like fighting the wrestlers because, when it comes to the striking, you have to be precise, and it's more of a chest. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to make sure. I feel like the first fight was better than the last fight anyway. Like, the last fight. Huh?
Like you know where you stand almost with a wrestler.
Yeah. You know what they're coming to do, and it's like getting wrestled's not too bad. Then getting smashed in the face, is it?
Yeah. How far, out of interest, how far away do you think you are from a top 15? Do you think you're 1 fight, 2 fight? Do you think you could even get one next?
To be honest, they have offered me a top 15 guy at the end of last year, but I wasn't ready. I was injured at the time. So that opportunity passed. So they can offer me a top 15 guy at any time. I feel like I'm just outside of there. So they might give me one fight and then top 15, or they might just give me top 15. Don't know. It depends on timing, doesn't it, and who's available.
Yeah. Is there someone in mind who, maybe it's not next, maybe it's not something that's realistic at present, but you look at in the division and you think me versus that guy would just be an absolute tear-up?
Do you know what? I've been looking at the list, and I feel like from 10 to 15, all of them fights are crazy fights for me, because I feel like most of them are young guys too, and young up-and-comers. You got like Sadiq Youssef in there, you've got Bryce Mitchell in there, you've got Movsar Evliov in there. I think Hakeem Dawoodi's around there somewhere. All them 4 fights there are big fights. But I feel like the UFC are playing it smart, and they build it. They want to let us all fight other people first, and build the division that way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's fun times, man. I can't wait to get back in there.
Yeah. Well, let's, for one final question, I like asking people this. We are at early May now, early May 2021. I'll just have to clarify that in case somebody has a problem with that. Where would you like to be come the 1st of May 2022? What do you have in mind for the next 12 months?
So that's 1 year. In the perfect world, I'd want to be 3 fights in next year. So that would probably, in the perfect world, I'd want to be like top 7, top 8, top 7, top 8. Yeah, that would be perfect for me. And then looking towards the end of 2022, going to that, like, 1 more fight, title fight, 5, 6 fights, title fight. That's in the perfect world, obviously. So yeah, top 7, top 8 by next year.
Well, the world's not perfect, but I'm sure the Miracle Man can do it.
Yeah, of course, man. With willpower and hard training, anything can happen, you know?
Yeah, of course. Well, I very much look forward to seeing you back in action, and I very much thank you for your time this evening.
Yeah, thank you. Much appreciated.
Before we finish, Lerone, how can people find you on social media?
At El Prezi, so it's at LPREZZY. LROMSI145. That's my Instagram handle. On my Twitter handle is just my name, Lerone Murphy.
Superb. And before we finish, is there anything you would like to say or sign off with at all?
I'd just like to say, keep a watch out for me. I'm the dark horse in the division, and I'm coming for that title in the coming years.
Superb. Very much thank you for your time today, Lerone.
Yeah, thank you.